Hello and welcome to Channels Book Club. I am Olakunle Kasumo. It's the start of a brand new year. And on behalf of our entire crew here, I wish you a happy 2017. May it be a year that puts plenty of smiles on your face and much joy in your heart. Last week, we took you down the 2016 memory lane. The guests who came, the awards won, the books released, the heroes who died, and the events that took place. One of our highlights at the end of 2016 was the release of our 20 top Nigerian books of the year. We announced 10 fiction and 10 non-fiction books. Just in case you missed that and you are still trying to sort out your reading list for 2017, here are the books again. Well, I'm sure you'll find some of those books very interesting and compelling if you do choose to add them to your reading list in 2017. We'll do a bit more of traveling down memory lane later on, but for now, let's introduce to you our first guest this year. She is none other than the incredibly talented Sephi Ata, who is the author of celebrated books like Every Good Thing Will Come, A Bit of Difference, and Swallow. Beyond being a novelist, Sefi is a playwright whose plays have been staged in Nigeria and beyond. She has a new book that is set to be released titled Sephi Ata Selected Plays. It's a collection of plays she has written and was largely inspired by a passion to advance the theater industry in Nigeria and beyond. She joins us to discuss her new book, her writing, and views on related issues. Enjoy it. Sefi, nice to have you on Channels Book Club.
Hello, Kunle. It's nice to be back.
Really good to have you here.
I believe I was your first guest.
No, you were not.
In 2013.
One of the first guests.
Okay.
Thank you for coming back. What's life like as a playwright for you? 20 years of doing that. What have you experienced?
You know, oddly enough, I just see myself as a writer, you know, and sometimes I write plays, sometimes I write novels, and then other times I write short stories. I have to say that I started off writing plays before anything else, you know, and even though playwriting is not easy, I find it easier to draft a play than it is to draft a novel because of the sheer number of words that you have to to write, to finish a novel. And, but that doesn't mean, again, doesn't mean that playwriting is easy. And it can be just as, it takes me just as long to revise a play as it does to revise a novel.
A novel. But here in Nigeria, particularly, plays are not as popular as they should be. You don't have so many people going out there to watch plays and to watch stage plays and so on.
There's so many reasons for that, and it's changed recently, by the way. You know, when I started writing 20 years ago, in the late 1990s, nothing much was happening on the theatre scene. But we'd had periods of military regimes. General Obasanjo had just become President Obasanjo at the time. And I think within academic circles, for instance, at University of Lagos or LASU or Yaba College of Tech, they might have had active theatre departments. But certainly in the public arena, nothing much was happening. And we didn't have many spaces to perform plays. We had National Theatre, which may or may not have been functioning, I can't remember. We had Muson, which was primarily for musical performances. We had J.K. Randall Memorial Hall, which has since been demolished, and Glover Memorial Hall. I'm not sure what was happening there. I remember when I wrote my first 2 plays, completed them in 2002, 2001. I tried to reach out to a director called Chuck Mike because I'd heard about his work and couldn't reach him. I heard he was leaving Nigeria or had left. And then I reached out to Joke Silva, who became an advocate for my work at that time. She took it to a couple of places, nothing came of it. And so I submitted the first one, titled The Engagement, to BBC Radio, and for an African performance competition, which has since stopped, by the way. It placed second. They broadcast it on the radio in 2002, and that was my first real credit as a writer. Yeah.
Interesting. It's here, right?
It's one of the
first one.
Yeah.
It's the first play.
Yeah. They start from my earlier one-acts to my most recent full-length plays. Yeah, and The Engagement is one of them.
Pardon my ignorance. How do you playwrights, how do you make your money from, I'm looking at the economics of, I know you are first of all a writer.
Yes,
you know,
I am.
You're a creative person.
Yes.
And for many of you, your core interest is produce something worth, you know, something very valuable in terms of quality and so on. But people like us think about the economics of all these things. We sit down and we look at you guys, and we are thinking, how are you making money? How can you make more money?
People do think about the economics of it as well as the commercial aspects. It's not a ridiculous question to ask, quite frankly. But, you know, for me, because I'm a playwright, I am always concerned about the quality of scripts. You know, that's where I
guessed as much.
And to be honest, let me preface this by saying that the fact that I'm commenting on the quality of scripts doesn't mean my scripts are perfect. It means that I'm aware of the standards to which I should be aspiring, and it also means that I care about honoring the tradition of playwriting that I've spoken about with playwrights such as J.P. Clark, Soyinka, Zulu Shofola, and Olarotimi. Have been part of, you know, and to put this collection together long after the plays had been written and revised and polished and produced, I still worked with a dramaturg because it was important for me to have scripts that were worthy of that tradition. However, I think because of the ways in which we approach funding productions in Lagos, that can give rise to problems with scripts, you know. And for instance,
can lower the quality of scripts.
So far, I have not always seen scripts that can stand up to critical review.
You have not?
Internationally, no, I have not.
In Nigeria?
In Nigeria, sorry, in Lagos, where I've had most of my experience as a theatre practitioner.
And you connect that to the way money is raised, or the amount of money raised?
I absolutely do. And if, you know, if I may, when I talk about critical review, I'm not talking about publicity. You know, you can issue a press release saying your play is wonderful, and wherever it's performed in Lagos, overseas, publications will repeat that news. You can say it's funny, and people will say it's funny. And I'm not talking about audience reactions either. by the way, because Lagos audiences are the most generous that I've seen worldwide.
Really?
They will they'll laugh at anything. They will enjoy anything, so long as you don't make them stay too long, you know. The bigger, the better, the noisier, the better. Sometimes even the cornier, the better. So maybe audiences here too need to be aware of the standards.
So you have that in mind when, do you have that in mind when you write plays in
for
Nigeria?
me, it's about reaching those standards, regardless of what the audience is. So I'm not, I like them to enjoy the plays, certainly, and it's a very easy place to put on productions in that sense, because the audiences are so generous. But you still have to think about the standards to which we aspire. The connection now is this. Over here, we look to corporations to fund plays. I've never, where I live in America and even in England when I visit and I go to the theater, I've never seen a poster with a corporate logo on it. Here in Nigeria, we have posters with corporate logos. We have leaflets with corporate logos. I see people soliciting funds in their leaflets, and that's very unusual.
So ideally, the money should come from people
in arts organizations.
Going to watch, ticket sales and so on.
Oh, yes, but
right.
I mean, plays are always funded by arts organizations or arts councils overseas, and assessed by them, accepted by people who know something about theater. Over here, we're dealing with CEOs, PR people, people who have no idea about whether a script is good or bad, and
that impacts on the quality of scripts written.
And, there are other ways in which I would say it impacts on what I'll call the quirks of Lagos. Here, especially this Christmas, I've noticed there isn't any original work being done. There's a lot of adaptations. I actually saw advertised an adaptation of an adaptation, which is unheard of anywhere else in the world. And, and apart from which, my pet peeve is when I see a poster or leaflet saying who the producer is or who the director is and not mentioning the playwright. That bothers me. If indeed a director or playwright, or producer writes the script, then they should identify themselves. But if they got a group of playwrights or some unknown playwright to write it, paid them off, and don't mention them, it drives me nuts. It's unethical and it's exploitative.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I watched Wicked. Well, some will classify it as musical. I watched it in London last year.
Yes.
Incredible.
The Wizard of Oz.
The prequel to The Wizard of Oz.
Yes.
I hear that it has generated over $1 billion.
It's possible.
In ticket sales.
It's possible.
In the last, it's been staged in the last 10 years. Over $1 billion.
Well, this is how the economy grew. The economy of theatre arts grew in Nigeria because it began with Fela. It did, Fela the musical, and then we had our own local musicals such as Kakadu, Saro, Heartbeat, and they increased the audience, the growing audience for us, and in a sense they're responsible for that growth. Now, I don't write musical theatre, I write what is known as legitimate theatre, but I still benefit from that. Okay. But you raise a good point, well, you remind me of a good point. That over here we tend to borrow songs to make our musicals. And there's nothing wrong with that. Fela used Fela's songs, Mamma Mia used ABBA's songs, Jersey Boy used Frankie Valli's songs, but they were integral to the story. What I would love to see is an original Afro-hip-hop musical with Afro-hip-hop dancing and a Lagos story. If anyone can write that out, it would be great.
Unfortunately, we don't have so much time.
Oh, wow.
We can go on and on. But congrats on your book. It's coming out this year, right? 2017.
Well, 2017. I keep thinking about this as next year. Hopefully, I'll have some premieres when Terra's new theatre is open. And I'll work with the Just Repertory Theatre and their artistic director, Patrick Judote, who is the most skilled, the most confident and intelligent director of my generation that I've had the pleasure of working with.
I'm looking forward to that.
Thank you very much for having me.
Hopefully we'll all be there to watch.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us on Channels Book Club, Sefi. Thank you.